Cindy's library, and today it is already time for the August mid-month reading check-in. So, what have I read so far? Good question. So let's go through some items here. First, I managed to read House of Dreams, The Life of L.M. Montgomery by Liz Rosenburg. I have to say, I love the illustrations by Julie Morstad that come with this. For example, there's one of these in front of each chapter. Not the most extensive of biographies, perhaps, but still, it was quite readable for me, and loved learning more about L.M. Montgomery. She had a very interesting, but I'm afraid she had lots of sadness in her life too. Fortunately, as you can probably tell if you've read any of her, had a way of finding the good in any situation and finding the little moments and little things to keep her going for most of her life at least. So there is that. I also read A Wonderful Day for a Quest, a novella by Michael D. Young. This is a local author. I understand this is based on a play which will hopefully, knock on wood, be produced in my area in the nearish future, which I rather look forward to because this is a spoof on the fantasy genre. You have the wizard Jackdaw. Of course, he's not an entirely traditional wizard. You have the ELM, who's the Dark Lord, and is not a traditional Dark Lord. You've got the sub-assistant goat herder who wants to be a squire, and a gallant knight who's looking for a damsel in distress, and a damsel who would love to be with the knight, but she's not in distress and can't get his attention. And along with that, the footnotes. Footnotes are hilarious. So really hope this gets produced because it's hilarious actually seeing it in person, I'm sure. So knock on wood, hopefully that will happen. I also read The Spirit of Revelation by David A. Bednar. As is his wont, he has worksheet areas for writing down what you learn. But this is about receiving revelation, and it's interesting because this book has two sections: principles of revelation, still and small principle, line upon line principle, proximity principle. And then there are a number of experiences from his own life or that his wife or children share about receiving revelation as examples of how that might look like for you. So I quite enjoyed it. It had a lot of good principles and examples in here for which I am very grateful. And let's see, I also read The Indigo Girl by Natasha Boyd. That was my Relief Society book groups pick for this month. And excuse me, but not sure I can say I loved it, but there is a lot I liked about it. This was an early-ish colonial time. Our main heroine, Eliza, has recently moved to South Carolina from Antigua, where she's spent a lot of her life. Well, when she wasn't in London for school, of course, which is, of course, another matter. But her father somehow has 3 plantations in South Carolina, but also has the holdings in Antigua. And Eliza is the oldest child. Her father, he feels it's his duty to be in the military and go back to Antigua because there's conflict with the Spanish at the time. And so and Eliza's mother, she is not very helpful in a situation like this. That's probably the best way to put it. And so he leaves Eliza in charge, and she needs to make a profit from these plantations for her family. So we get into discussions of the roles of males and females at the time, plenty of discovery. And we also have some discussions about how to be a decent person in less than ideal circumstances, which is exactly what Eliza, of course, finds herself in. And the reason why the title of the book is called Indigo Girl is because Eliza decides to try and help her family's fortune. She's going to try to grow indigo. The process is very difficult. It's rather held close to the chest, since indigo is such a valuable commodity if it is successfully made. And so it's her struggles to try and do this. And this is historical fiction and is actually based on a real person. There's only so much we know about her, but what we do know is very intriguing. There really was a young lady named Eliza who was left over her father's 3 plantations in South Carolina and worked to grow indigo. So, interesting timeline, lots of different interesting. Eliza is an intriguing character. She wants to be a good person. She also wants to be her own person when a woman's place is very clearly defined, although perhaps not quite so much in the colonies, but still. So, if you are interested in looking for I guess you'd call it colonial historical fiction, you might very well find this an interesting one. And for the Mythgard Academy, we are doing Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. And we have just finished Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. You probably know the premise. A little girl named Alice finds herself going down a rabbit hole and having all sorts of adventures in this world where, not to say that they don't follow their own rules, but they are not necessarily the rules Alice is used to, which makes things interesting to say the least, with lots of memorable characters like the white rabbit um, the Mock Turtle, the Cheshire Cat, and who could forget the Queen of Hearts, of course. It's the Disney version, which you may be even more likely to be familiar with, is not exactly like the book. Well worth reading, I would say. Anyway, that is what I have read so far this month. Hope your reading month has been equally good so far, if not better. Thank you for stopping by. I truly do appreciate it. So until next time, I hope we are all stay safe and healthy, and as always, happy reading.